musicologists. Welcome to Amari Music Talk. I'm Richard Cole. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're a brand new listener, welcome back. All right, so we had some exciting news drop today. No, it wasn't the announcement of the Prince Around the World in a Day box set, but I'm hoping that comes soon. But until then, we got an announcement regarding the 30th anniversary of the release of the Beatles Anthology. The documentary, it's coming back, it's restored, it's digitally enhanced. We've got a re-release of the remastered version of the albums from that project, as well as the book. So much to unpack. This has been long anticipated by Beatles fans. Of course, most would still like to have the box set of Rubber Soul. I'm kind of one of those two, but if you're not going to get Rubber Soul box set, then guess what? This, for me, is probably the next best thing for right now. So like I said, if you're new to the channel and you're used to seeing the Prince content, you're used to seeing the Funkadelic content, I have done a few episodes on the Beatles. They're on this channel if you want to check them out. My listening goes back to 1976. Actually, I had heard some Beatles songs before then, and like around second, third grade, had seen Yellow Submarine, but it just never really clicked. I mean, not like in a bad way. Like Yellow Submarine, at that time I did like All You Need Is Love. But like I said, it never really got me to go run out and get a Beatles album. Not until 1976 and the release of this compilation. This is my gateway into the Beatles. About a year later, ended up with this set. And after that, got this isn't the original book that I had, but this book kind of told me everything I needed to know when I got this around 1978, and had been a lifelong fan ever since. Actually, it's this album behind me, the Revolver album, that really cemented my listening to this group. Also deepened my understanding of albums. Everything that like Stevie Wonder has done, Marvin Gaye, things that we think about as an album, regardless of genre. Revolvers and even Rubber Soul changed it from, albums being just hits and filler, which to me it's kind of gone back to that nowadays. Everything's back to singles now, but the album as an art form started with these guys. So like I said, lifelong fan. Had their albums on vinyl, had their albums on CD. And fast forward to 1995 and the release of the Beatles Anthology. It first aired as a 3-part series on ABC back in the day, and watched that. And this is basically their story told in their own words. There's really no talking heads. It's really the four of them. Unfortunately, with John, you had to rely on archival interviews throughout the years, but it was mainly the four of them. Anyone else, it was somebody that was there in the inner circle, and you didn't see a lot of them. Like I said, just the four of them, their story, their words. 3-part documentary was on ABC. Fast forward a couple of years, an 8-part set was released on VHS. I remember checking that out from the library often and viewing that. And then in 2004, had the release of the DVD set. As far as the albums, this was a let's do this in order. So 3 CD set. The selling point of this, you had some tapes of John Lennon that were supplied by Yoko Ono to the at that time, surviving three Beatles. The songs Free as a Bird and Real Love are found on discs 1 and 2 of this set. And like I said, as a fan, this was exciting stuff. I enjoyed watching it, like I said, through the 3-part series, which I taped on VHS, through checking out the VHS on from the library, and then eventually just buying the DVD set, listening to these albums, which contain, outtakes, alternate takes, some live material, which up and before like 1995, you didn't get a lot of this stuff, while somebody like Prince, Bob Dylan, two of the most heavily bootleg artists. The Beatles were among the first to be bootlegged. But while other artists were kind of releasing their archive material, their vault material, we didn't get a lot of that from the Beatles until we got to the Beatles Anthology, maybe before that, the BBC. But that's the backstory of my fandom with the Beatles. So now here we are in 2025, 30 years later, and this is getting the re-release. This is from their official website, the Beatles Anthology 2025. The Beatles, by the Beatles, on screen, on record, and in print. And these items are available in pre-order. Let's start with the Beatles Anthology music collections. These are restored and expanded to 4 volumes. You get either the 12 LP vinyl or the 8 CD and digital collections. This will be released on November 21st. And again, you can have these pre-ordered either from the Beatles official site. The CD, I did my pre-order on Amazon. Much more, I would say, a more economical deal if you do that. I mean, of course, you can also order from the website as well. Your choice. But for me, the vinyl is a bit pricey. It's like $200 to $300. I think even more, depending on where you pre-ordered from. I'd rather stay with the CD. It's kind of more in my lane for right now. But I'm going to do that actually. So the actual docu-series, the Beatles Anthology 2025, this is now going to be expanded into a 9-part series. And this will be on Disney Plus. The 3-episode premiere is going to be on November 26th. I'm not sure if this is if they're going to just air it, a few episodes every week or every night. I remember the Get Back series, that was an episode a night beginning. So let's see. So we got the Beatles Landmark Anthology documentary series, which has been restored and remastered. The series' original 8 episodes trace the legendary journey that began in Liverpool and Hamburg and soon captivated the world. They bring to life the timeless stories of Beatlemania, the band's groundbreaking arrival in the USA, their role at the forefront of the 1960s counterculture, their spiritual exploration in India, and their eventual breakup, and through it all, the constant thread, the music. And there is now a completely new episode 9, including unseen, behind-the-scenes footage of Paul, George, and Ringo coming together between 1994 and 1995 to work on the anthology and reflecting on their shared life as the Beatles. All right, the restoration has been overseen by Apple Core production team, working with Peter Jackson's Wingnut Films and Park Road post teams, along with Giles Martin, who has created new audio mixes for the majority of the featured music. So where, like with the Prince material now, where Chris James is sort of my favorite engineer, especially his work with Adobe Atmos stuff with Prince, Giles Martin has kind of become my favorite sort of, I guess, archive producer, with his work on remixing their Beatles classic albums, Sgt. Pepper, The White Album, Abbey Road, Let It Be. Amazing job with those. The work that was on the remastered, remixed, reissued Red and Blue albums. Work on Now and Then. So in that regard, he's kind of become one of my favorite archive producers or remixers or whatever you want to call it. So looking forward to how this is going to sound, more so with the documentary. The 3-volume anthology on CD or vinyl, that is just getting the remaster. So there's no remixing or utilization of Peter Jackson's machine-assisted learning or MAL technology, which is used to deconstruct, actually to create a perfect remaster of the Revolver box set. So I won't find that with the first 3 volumes. You probably there will be highlights on the 4th disc that have been previously released. There will be material on that 4th volume that has never been released before, and I think some of that might have benefited from that technology. All right, so with that being said, we also have the Beatles Anthology book. I do have the original book as well. I've got hardcover and the paperback, but basically what this is, it's the Beatles story told in their own words with personal stories and images and much more. Includes 1,300 images, letters, and other memorabilia. The landmark international best-selling book reissued on the 25th anniversary of its publication. And this is going to be released on October 14th of 2025. And this is also available as a pre-order. All right, and I want to kind of wrap it up a little bit with the release on streaming of the Beatles Free as a Bird. Let's see. We also have the official music video. It's beautifully restored to ultra high definition 4K in 2025 by Peter Jackson's post-production company, Park Road Post. The Free as a Bird official music video is arguably one of the most enticing of all Beatles videos. Shot originally in Liverpool and London in 1995. It's a treasure trove of visual references to Beatles song titles brought to life for fans to discover and enjoy across the globe. All right, now for 2025, the video features newly remixed audio by its original producer, Jeff Lynne. Free as a Bird, a John Lennon demo from 1997, was first worked on in February of 1995 by Paul, George, and Ringo, and once final, was released as part of the Beatles Anthology project that same year. Joe, let's see, is that Pitka or Joe Pitka, the director of the official music video, was also released in 1995 to great acclaim. Okay, so I haven't seen the remastered video yet. I'll probably go ahead and check that out right after taping this. But I did hear the song or the remix or remastered song on streaming today. Listened to it about 3 times, actually in 3 different formats. Haven't listened to it on Beats headphones yet, but I'm going to do that later on today as well. But I think it is a definite improvement vocally. Nothing wrong with the original, but because of the technology in 1995, and we're talking like state of the art for back then, it was a phenomenal job putting that together for then, and it was it was great to listen to. But I guess with the sort of demixing technology, where you're able to fully separate John's voice and give it a little bit more clarity to it. It definitely works well with this new 2025 mix. If I do have a complaint, I think it's kind of too raw. I know, like with the solo John Lennon stuff, Sean Lennon has been very good at keeping a raw quality, because John always liked to put all kind of echo and different effects, because he like Hendrix was kind of a little bit insecure about his voice. So with the solo stuff, like I said, Sean Lennon has been able to oversee those vocals, and where that rawness kind of enhances it. For the Beatles, though, like I said, I like the clarity, as far as that you can clearly hear the lyrics a lot better as opposed to the original release version of Free as a Bird. But yeah, I wish they would have been able to put just a slight bit of echo or something, because it being a Beatles track, I think, John would have wanted to put something like that on it. But again, that doesn't say that this is a bad version. It's really a great version, and I enjoyed listening to it the 3 times I've heard it thus far. I do enjoy it a little bit better than the original. There are some nuances that are different. The backwards part at the end, I've seen on social media where some people weren't able to hear it. On headphones, I was able to hear it clearly. That part is now kind of like more to the left and a little bit more buried in the mix. And basically, it's just a part where John, I guess at the end of the demo, goes, "It turned out nice again." And he kind of chuckles, "It turned out nice again." And it's, it's buried in the mix. And if you listen on headphones, you can hear it. And I think the last time I heard it, immediately after that, you can hear a little bit, and this is even more buried in the mix. I think you can hear where that part is played backwards. And back then, people thought when you play it backwards, it says made by John Lennon when you play it backwards. But I think you do hear a little bit of that backwards part immediately after, the original, turned out nice again part. Let me know in the comments if you are able to hear that, or if it's more prominent on whatever system you're listening to. If, like I said, to me, it's to the left, and it's, like I said, it's a little buried, not deeply buried, but just underneath the mix just enough. Which, again, the Beatles would have done something like that anyway if they had continued making records, slipping in little tidbits and pieces and little clues and crazy stuff here and there too. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to hearing Real Love, which is the second track on it. The 4th disc, like I said, you'll hear some things that have been released previously on different Beatles box sets, but there's about 13 songs that or alternate versions of classic songs, different takes of that nature that have not been released. And it's great that you'll get these new mixes of Free as a Bird, Real Love, and you'll also get Now and Then, which was released a couple of years ago, originally released as a selling point for the Red and Blue album, which to a lot of fans, it was kind of like, yeah, this is the incentive to just rebuy that. And from what I heard, from another YouTuber talking about it, like as if the remixes of some of the stuff that hasn't been released on it as a box set yet, if that wasn't the selling point enough. But it now and then, for those that are new to the Beatles or new to what's going on with all of this, now and then was originally intended for anthology, but again, the limitations of the technology kept it from ever getting finished until about 2 years ago. And that, finished song will now be a part of this anthology on the fourth volume of CDs or LPs. So if you want to hear that song, that is on streaming. So you can go listen to that. You can see the music video as well. So it'll be nice to have all of this in one place. Like I said, I'm looking forward to rewatching the documentary again, especially, because with the DVD, because this isn't even Blu-ray. Who knows? Maybe they'll put that out on Blu-ray one day. But, when you try to watch this now, especially with the type of televisions that we have now, it's a bit of a hard thing to really sit down and watch now. So it'll be great to see this in ultra high def and cleaned up and new audio. So I'm looking forward to actually checking this out. So first 3 parts on November 26th. I'll be able to check that out. And I'm wondering if they're going to do just 3 episodes a night or if it's 3 episodes a week. I have to do some deeper digging in order to check that out. But that's it. Like I said, some exciting news. Like I said, as a Beatles fan, I'm hyped to check this out. And I'll probably do some videos just kind of giving my thoughts on stuff as it is released officially. So, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. If you're a Patreon supporter or become a Patreon supporter, do that. There's exclusive content. There's early access to episodes, except for this one. This one's breaking news. But, definitely become a Patreon supporter. We got some interesting stuff coming up soon. I'm going to work on some videos this weekend. Also, one more Patreon exclusive. So until then, create your day, create your life. Peace.